Hi guys, hope you're all good and having a fantastic week so far. So for me it's been a testing one, not just in terms of contest prep, which is difficult in itself, but more so life in general and navigating around some of the obstacles that's presented me. But here we are on a Sunday and one step closer. I haven't buckled. I can now enjoy some good food on a Sunday, which I'm going to run through in a little bit. But for me, really, this is the biggest difference between those that are going to reach the goals and those that aren't. The ability to deal with problems and navigate through life stresses whilst continuing to adhere to the protocol that have been set to enable them to reach the goals that they have. So for me, the stress has been on big time this week. The pressure's high, the bills are mounting up, and I'm now faced with some very serious decisions I need to make in terms of what I'm going to be doing over the next few months. But I haven't sabotaged myself. I haven't let that deter me from reaching the goals that I have. And I'm now one step closer as a consequence of that mental toughness and discipline. And it's so important that you can overcome problems that you're faced with whilst committing to a goal you may have. And it doesn't have to be contest prep. It could just be you really, really want a six-pack body for your holiday. It's all going smoothly, and then something crops up in your life that makes it more difficult for you to adhere to that diet protocol or get your cardio in. For instance, you might have had a particularly stressful week at work, or may have been asked to do some overtime, a relative might have died, relationship struggles. There's a whole host of problems that you may be faced with from when you start your goal to when you reach the end result. You know, it's more difficult now physically and mentally to do what you're doing before when you're presented with X, Y, or Z as a problem. And that's very important to have that mental toughness and discipline to be able to continue doing what you're doing to reach your own goals during these times. Now, I'm not saying you have to bludgeon through every single problem that you're faced with. There may be times we need to sit back, kind of think, is this the best decision for me right now? But I think for the most part, it's generally an excuse, and it's something that most people can work around with a little bit more mental toughness. Because there's never going to be a good time to do it. There will never be a time when a problem doesn't crop up. There is no smooth sailing. In 6 months' time, something else will make your life difficult. In a year's time, something else crop up. So if you let that mentality seep in now, it will always be there. That's something to bear in mind. So hopefully that's at least given some of you a kick up the arse to go out and realise the dreams you might have, because there may never be an easy time for that. So we're going to analyse my physique now and take a look at it. This is post shoulder and arm training session. I'm glad I did this video because whilst, yes, I am flat, I can see vascularity's not coming in as much, not popping as much. I do look better than how I thought I would look, and certainly how I felt, which is important. It's been a real rough week. Fatigue has been very high. Legs have been very heavy. The last 2 or 3 weeks have been super, super heavy. And I'm just having trouble essentially contracting the legs properly. They're that tight. So that's not helping with the kind of water retention, a combination of things really. Lack of sleep. Sleep's consistently very low. Stress levels are very high. I'm in a big deficit and I'm still doing cardio. So those things combined are making my legs feel very heavy, and they're holding on to a little bit of water. So yeah, front and back shots, not really great in that department, but overall, in terms of the goal that I have to get to the leanest body fat that I've ever been at, I'm achieving it, and I'm keeping the goal. And it can be very difficult at these times to think analytically about your physique and kind of where it is, and that's where obviously the coach would come into play to give you that kind of outside eye. But yeah, it's been really difficult. I've been kind of thinking that I'm going backwards, carrying more fat than I was, starting to doubt myself. So I'm glad that I did the video and not just kind of looking at myself in the mirror, not just going by how I feel, because it's there in front of me. I'm leaner than I was 2 weeks ago, and I'm therefore closer to the goal that I set myself. And I have to deal with the repercussions of doing what's needed to get there, but that will sort itself out. I can add more carbohydrates, I can take away cardio, I can try to improve my sleep and try my best to lower stress. So I remain optimistic about what the next few weeks will hold. So I'm going to run through a training session now, and this was a good one. Myself and my client Carl really kind of bouncing off one another. Energy was good. Performance increases big time for Carl, a little bit for me as well. Every exercise was maintained. Some of the movements I added a rep or two. So at this point, fantastic. I had a Costa coffee before this session, a large one, and it just hit the spot in combination with the carbs that I had. Massive improvement in energy level over the previous chest and back training session on the Wednesday, and legs. And the legs was post refeed as well, just felt kind of a bit flat and sluggish going into that. But yeah, it's reassuring when you're going into a session and you're not seeing that dwindling kind of performance, even though you feel like crap outside of the training sessions. You know that muscle's still there, otherwise the strength's not going to be there. And yeah, okay, the strength's dropped on a lot of the big movements in the lower body especially. The leverages just aren't the same. You know, I'm a 6 foot guy, I'm now very, very lean, and the squats and you know, the pendulums and the leg press, they're not going to be the same. You know, it's as simple as that. But I'm still hitting it hard, still going in with maximal intensity, even keeping the reps very low on some of the movements to keep that weight as high as I can. So we're going to run through the session, just kind of explain what I'm doing and why. Pretty simple stuff. 1 set of failure on every exercise. I hope you enjoy it. If you've got any questions about the training, then please let me know in the comment section below. I'm going to turn off the camera now and just do it via the microphone. So thanks for watching. Stay strong. Alright, so first exercise, the seated shoulder press machine. 3 warm-ups, then 1 working set. Performance was matched in terms of reps to last week, although the set felt better. It felt like a stronger set. You know, even if you're matching your reps, a stronger 7 compared to a weaker 7 is better. And yeah, overall very pleased with this. So I've got 10 rep total with a spot, which I think is important. You know, I can still control that weight down on my own on the negative to some extent. So there's more to be squeezed out of that set. It's just the way we like to do it. It's the way I enjoy training as well. And I feel in a better place mentally when I'm doing this in prep as opposed to the off season. It's like, okay, my strength is diminishing. I'm feeling rubbish, but I'm going above and beyond. I'm going, you know, to higher levels than I was during the bulking when I was training on my own. And that just sets me up mentally, whether it does anything or not. I'm in a better position mentally as a consequence. So now second set, moving on to dumbbell laterals. And again, not keeping it too strict. Still trying to move a fair amount of weight, 16 kilos. Just using a little bit of hip hinging to get that weight up, to keep the elbows up, to prevent the form from becoming too slack. So even though I'm moving my body up and down, the position at the elbows is what we're looking at. You can still muck the position up and keep the rep strict. So the angles are very important, the trajectory of the elbow compared to the wrist and so forth. So we do a set of partials there at the end after Carl has assisted me for a few more. And then we move on to cable raises. And again, these saw an improvement in performance, which I was very happy about. A lot more energy on these. So the reps went up maybe a couple compared to last week. So again, just utilising a spot on this movement to kind of squeeze out a few more reps once the going gets too difficult to complete full ROM. Now the last shoulder exercise is a super simple workout, just rear delt raises, going heavy on these at the moment, nearly up to 30 kilos, and just being happy with keeping the weight moving even if it's partial range of motion. The pump I get in the upper back and rear delts is superb on this, and again just mentally in a good place from doing these at the moment with this weight, and would rather continue doing that than use a weight that's a little bit lighter with maybe a fuller range of motion or stricter form. That's just kind of the headspace that I'm in, and it feels good. Now moving on to arms, so shoulders done and dusted. First exercise, bar push down. So we use the belt to essentially weigh us down, because obviously body weight's decreasing all the time. We're now at a point where the weight we're lifting is heavy enough to make it difficult for us to actually stay grounded. This is something I've used in the bulk period as well when I am going much heavier, and I've used it to great effect. I really recommend it. So we pop a 25k on the belt, and that just pushes my body weight back up to nearly 100 kilos or so, which makes it a lot easier to get those reps out, so I can focus on better contractions on the tricep. So saw a slight increase on that, and then we moved on to bicep curl and saw a big increase on this, definitely a lot easier, a lot more energy on this particular movement. So yeah, smashed the performance of last week out of the park. Really pleased with this. And apologies for the camera not being focused properly. Not sure why it's doing that. It's focusing on the background instead of me. But yeah, you can see the cuts in the arms coming in, pretty deep cuts now between the bicep and tricep. Really pleased. Arms have never looked as lean as they are now, so got to be chuffed with that. At the end of the day, that was my goal, to come in the leanest I've ever been at any cost, really, and I've done that. So pretty pleased with where I am at the moment. So next, heavy tricep movement, the overhead extensions, and this is a really funky bar. Essentially, it's a neutral grip, but it's positioned in such a way that feels very comfortable. Certainly more comfortable than the traditional trap bar or horizontal bars that I've used in the past. It's a bit wider, and it just flows well. Like when you're lifting it, it just feels really good with the way the weight of the bar is kind of angled. So propping yourself up on like a pad or a bench, and then just folding at the elbows, trying to keep your upper arm stable. Good stretch at the bottom, so I like to let the bar drop right down behind the head. I'm not satisfied with kind of half reps on this. I really like to sink it low, almost so that the plate hits the bench behind me. Overall, really good set. Again, a subtle improvement over last week. A dumbbell incline, probably my favourite bicep exercise, or one of them at least, apart from the strict straight bar curl, which I really love, but tends to be a bit of a nuisance at times for the elbows. So yeah, this one's really cool. Use rest pause on this, so I got 9, or just shy of 9, and then 3 more. So I think about equal to what I did last week, but just felt better. Felt like I was more in tune to my biceps. And overall very happy with the set. So yeah, get to the end of that set, rest for about 10 seconds, then I start doing twisted reps. So you'll see here that I'm starting the movement with the palm in and then finishing with the palm up, as opposed to the palm up all the way through, which is harder. And that's what I do with my curls to make them easier at the end of the set, so I can get more reps out. So now next exercise, a single arm tricep pushdown. And again, a little bit of a weird focus here, so apologies. But yeah, improvement on performance on this for sure, another rep. So overall, just a really good session. Energy was high throughout. We were kind of buzzing, enjoying it. When it's there, take it. Don't waste it, because next session might not be as good. So yeah, make the most of every session that you can. And this is a good movement. Really like the single rope attachment. Feels great. Trying to keep your upper arm kind of mostly stable, glued to your torso. Good lockout at the bottom. Full range of motion. So you want a nice stretch on the way up. For me, it's one of my favourites, I have to say. It does feel a little bit different compared to the regular palm down movement. I do think it would be worthwhile to switch up between a neutral grip and a palm down or palm up grip on your tricep work. Don't always use the same kind of grip, the same method of tricep contraction. Do vary it up, because I think there's something to be said of doing that. Now moving on to the last bicep exercise, the preacher curls, and these are real hard and real heavy. About the similar performance to last week, but again, just had a little bit of a better pump. The set was more enjoyable. I didn't have to probably quite work as hard mentally to get myself ready to do that set, if that makes sense. So even though the reps are the same, I felt like I had an easier time of stimulating the muscle. It was more a case of, okay, this feels good on the bicep, I'm going to keep going, as opposed to I feel like I haven't got the energy to move my arm up and down, let alone focus on getting a good pump. And when that's the difference week to week, then that's great, isn't it? It's gonna really help the quality of the workout. So yeah, good range of motion, low reps, not really doing anything over 12 reps on any of our sessions over the course of a week. I would say it's all under 12 for the most part, with a few exceptions. Some of the shoulder raises going up past that, but more with like partials and full reps, as opposed to standard sets where we're picking a weight that's light enough for us to do 15 reps on our own. I don't think there's an exercise across the board that's the case. So finish up with some forearm curls with the dumbbells, 3 sets of this between 15 and 20 reps. That's the session wrapped up. Great end to the week. In a really good place now to push forward for the next week.